Now you can start. You've been
I've
here.
lived here since December 1st, 1960. That's the day I moved, took the key and put it in the door, and been right here ever since.
Wow.
I, me and David moved here. We had 3 children at the time. I had my nephew. He had a daughter, and then we had a daughter after we got here, and I just buried this young man's Friday.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, he decided, he came with a church group and decided that we were going to be his parents because his parents had passed away, and David and I was going to be his parents, and this was going to be his home. He was here August the 3rd, I think that was, yeah, because I went to the family reunion, and he passed away, and we had his service Friday.
How old was he?
68.
How old was he when he came to live with you?
16.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Piedad has a lot of semi-adopted children too.
Oh, I know
Students that live with her, and it's
yeah, and he wasn't the first one. There's a whole string of them behind him. There's some things that I don't put out to talk about.
You Lynn Jim Crow's one of them.
Yeah, I experienced too much of
What
it.
was the reason? I mean, who instituted this?
Well, that was the way of saying separation. Like, there is this development that was not here when I moved here. Wasn't here when David was born in 1927. But when they built it, it was designed for blacks to live in. Okay? Across the track, is the area where it was designed for whites to live. And so that's where they built. Now, in this city, this place, you'll hear people say, well, blacks don't live on the other side of the track. They did at one time. But where did they live and why were they there? They were migrants that had come to the area and signed on to work for a farmer. And the farmer had housing for these persons. So that's where they lived, where the farmer had housing, called quarters.
Right.
Right. In fact, we just buried the last of the ones that I know from that quarters 3 weeks ago. Yeah, she was 93. Yeah. But then when they started building better houses, you gotta know it wasn't the best of housing.
I'm sure.
When they started building better housing, the first development you came through, but you didn't come through the housing as a development. You came through where they then began to build out. It's further east, the original. And then when they built this is different from what that was. Because over there they only built a house, a square, with 2 bedrooms, inside bathroom, hot water, kitchen with a little space for a dining table, and a living room.
Mm-hmm.
Here, the draw was we would get 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, hot water, a kitchen, a carport, and a utility room. So this was a step up from that housing over there.
What year did you moved in originally? You were you're the only person ever owned this house, right?
Right.
And what year did you told us before, but it was December
1st, 1960.
60.
Yeah.
They started this development. This was a farm.
What was that? It was this Sanders.
57 years this December.
Was this Sanders Park then, or
No.
Okay. What was the name of it?
This was a farm. Sanders Park was on the other side.
Okay, so what was this development called?
It's called Liberty Park now.
Oh, okay. What was it called then?
It was a farm.
Didn't have when they built these houses. They didn't call have a name for the tract or anything.
Oh, it has its county identification, but that has nothing.
Well,
to
in Tampa, when they built similar housing to this out in literally the middle of nowhere on top of a landfill, they called it Progress Village.
Right. Well, this is the Liberty Park of the Progress Village.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. When they,
You remember in Raisin in the Sun, it was not. It was no. That I didn't call the name. I've heard it in other films in Chicago. It was what, Cabrini Green.
Yeah.
Capri.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because remember she came home and said, "Well, the house is in Clyburn Park," and everybody dropped their jaws. Said, "But Mama, they ain't any people like us living in Clyburn Park." She said, "Well, there's gonna be some now."
Gonna be some now, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when we moved in here, the 3 houses down, I believe, around, and then you go back around. There's a curve. The first 50 houses moved in. We all moved in here the same time. Yeah. Yep. I was fixing to show Gene this. He's looking at pictures.
Well, what I'm doing
Which
here
is,
I'm making sure
hold
I've
it
got-
up, Gene.
I've got her. That's your current address right there.
Where?
I can send you her address,
Well,
Gene.
I've got part of it. See, I
Okay.
just wanted to update it, make sure I had it all. Yeah.
Hold it up so I can see it.
Well, I'm gonna like to take a picture of this if I can.
No, you
What?
can't take a picture. Who's that?
You are a very popular woman. What is it, Gene?
Oh, it's just it's obviously a very significant
Okay.
photograph in her life.
Wait, where's your stop? Hello? Hello?
Oh,
Hello?
Hazel. I'm sorry. Somehow I hit and called you on this phone. I apologize.
Oh.
He accidentally dialed you.
Well,
When I
thank
set
you.
it down, I must have hit it.
Okay.
No, this is a very significant picture, obviously, in your life. Now, where are you in this picture?
Right. Right there.
Is that a graduation picture?
No.
School picture?
No. It's a family picture taken in the 50s in Pennsylvania.
It's a
It was
colder
that-
climate, I can tell that.
Yeah.
Here. Hazel, you're looking down at something. Did something happen down there?
The wind was blowing. The wind was blowing, and we were tired. It was, we were at my aunt's funeral, and my great aunt, who's right here, she said, "I've got to have a picture of all of you, because this was the first of my mom's 15 sisters and brothers to pass away."
Wow.
Yeah, and so, and we all were in the north at that time,
Yeah.
Where in Pennsylvania
in
was it?
Torresdale.
What year would have that been?
51, 52.
Oh, okay.
It's the year I started school, 51. I remember the day they brought him home from the hospital.
Oh,
in
God.
49.
You didn't want to send him back?
No, I thought he was so beautiful. I was always kissing him and my little precious little brother.
Do you
Yeah.
can we see that, or are you gonna?
Well, she didn't
No,
want us to photograph it.
She doesn't want to. Okay.
It's
No.
a personal thing that she wants.
No, that's fine. You know, decades ago, in 1980, I made a recording of my parents' audio recording of how they met, their courtship, getting married, and the first year or so of their marriage, which coincided with World War II, the outbreak of World War II. My mother did not want me to record. She was like, "I don't like the sound of my voice." I played a trick on her, paused it, said okay, and then while she was stepped out of the kitchen, I turned it back on. Ask Jean how valuable that recording has become.
Oh yeah, I
course.
can
That stuff
tell
is
you.
good.
I
So
can tell
I'm basically doing this for the same reason, and that one's on YouTube too, by the way, with a whole bunch of old family pictures behind it. but black and whites and etc. But I think you're one of the most wonderful treasures that has ever walked the face of planet Earth, and not just because you're my friend.
That's Uncle Willie right there.
In that corner.
No, between my fingers.
Between your fingers, right?
Yeah.
That's I'm focusing in. Is he the tall one?
There's only one right
No,
there.
There's a shorter one to
No,
his. Okay, to
right
the right.
here. Right here, that's Uncle Willie.
Okay. Yeah. Well, all of you are good-looking people, so.
Yep. And that was my grandfather. And this is the aunt that brought all of us to New York. And this was my mother.
Can I get a close-up of her?
No.
Okay.
And this was my Aunt Flossie. That it was the last one to die from the 15.
15.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is your brother in Washington State still with us?
No, he passed away last year. He's just been
Oh.
gone a year, the 10th of this month.
Anybody else left besides you?
Yeah, my brother Sam, the one that's on this picture with me, and then I have 2 sisters and another brother. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
All I have is him. All he's got is me
And all we have is his nephew.
and my.
I mean, his son, my
your
nephew.
And I'm afraid our
Right.
family is making a clean sweep.
And
once
he
a-
had and he has not had any kids.
You know, it'd be interesting for your family to just know, and if usually a guy that doesn't talk about it is somebody that was in combat, because you can't really relate a combat experience to anybody that hasn't seen it.
Hasn't seen it.
There are things that I've been through that my family or son, my mother never knows. I
Never
talk
knows.
about it in our group, so
Yeah.
he probably should have had a disability, but they let so many men out of the service.
You talking about David?
in 1946.
Let me see that picture of your
10
son who
million
just
people.
just hold it up so we can. Okay, and he was 16 when he came to stay with you,
Mm-hmm.
and 68 when he passed.
Mm-hmm.
So you must have been 15. Now, actually, you were talking about returning veterans. I remember that, by the way, we're here in Hazel Armbrister's house, and we're catching up, and she's getting to know Gene. He's never been here before. I was here one time visiting when Hazel's Uncle Willie stopped by.
Oh wow! Yes,
I
you
still
were.
remember. I'm going to begin and then you can continue. But Uncle Willie had been one of the World War II veterans
Right.
who returned to Jim Crow, and it was heartbreaking. And he told me that story, and it was actually in Burbank, California. They had returned, and he and his friends wanted to go to the USO Club in Burbank, and because he was in the Pacific Theater, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's
And-
Japanese.
They wanted to go out to the USO Club, and the USO Club in Burbank, California, would not let them in. Now, didn't he spend most of his life driving a cab in New York City?
Yes, he did. He and his brother.
So
They were able to purchase their own medallion, which meant that they were independent drivers. They did not belong to Yellow Cab. Both of them died. Well, Uncle Willie eventually retired after that to Florida, and he died in Boca.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he was a wonderful, wonderful man. How were you guys related?
He
Or-
was my mom's there was 15 of them,
Wow.
and he was a part of the second 5. I always talk about them as being the first 5, second 5, and the last 5. So he was in the second 5. Yeah, out of 15 kids. My mom was the 3rd daughter of the first 5.
Were there different fathers?
No, the
Same dad.
father.
They just took a break.
No.
Oh, okay.
They had, well, the first 5 had were adults had married out when the second 5 came along.
Okay.
And the first Uncle Willie was in the second 5, and then when the third 5 came along, the ending of them, the mother passed away, and our my great aunt, finished raising them, and they went to live in New York. So that's where they finished growing up.
Okay.
In New York.
Another time I was visiting, and some of Hazel's family from Attapulgis, Georgia. Now, who exactly? That was your cousin?
Okay.
She was Dorothy's sister.
No, she was Dorothy's.
Because they said, remember they said at the end they were going to visit her sister who lived in Tampa.
They were going to visit. Oh,
that one, yeah. Remember? Do you remember the? Now,
it was Dorothy's aunt, and the sister in Tampa, who's still alive.
Okay.
Still lives in Tampa, well out in the Donasasa.
Right.
Uh-huh.
So
yeah.
So this is, I'll give the backstory. This is the 6 degrees of separation and how we're all connected in the universe. So there was the father and the son and daughter-in-law, and to connect all those people that he'd come from New York and stopped and picked up. What was the woman's name? Who was from Attapulgis, she and her husband. They had a Cadillac Eldorado. I remember that. From New York.
Dorothy is the daughter of... Can you reach that for me? Dorothy is the daughter of
Hazel
Leroy.
Armbrister's residence. Hello. This is her new butler. I've just been recently hired, ma'am. I'm still getting used to this. I'm going to let you talk to my employer. Here she is.
Hello? Maggie. How are you? Yes, I'm okay. Oh, this is Linda. Yes, I'm all right. They didn't tell you at church. I saw the message this morning, and I was going to call you later this afternoon. But I'm okay. No, I went to Nassau to bury my son. Yeah. Well, thank you so very much. Yeah. Thank you. He was a very good son. Yeah. Yes, I do. How are you? How are the girls? She is. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, yeah, that'll make it nice and smooth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. sure will. Listen, Linda. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, don't worry. I am okay. I'm glad that you are better. Yeah, and I'm hoping the girls will get better. If you feed them that chicken soup, they'll get better. Bye. Goodbye.
So
Now leave it
anyway,
here because it might
so
rain again.
there was the mother.
Yeah, let me tell you who
Okay.
they were.
Okay.
Okay. There was the mother and the daughter. Dorothy was the niece. The mother, they were from Rochester, New York.
The mother and the daughter? Or,
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, and Dorothy, they all lived in Rochester.
Okay.
Although Dorothy lives here now.
Right, but she lived, okay.
Yeah, she had lived in Rochester with them.
But Dorothy, how is she related to the mother? I thought they were sisters.
No, Dorothy doesn't have a sister or a brother. She's an only child.
The Dorothy that lived in Tampa.
The
Who was the name of the one that lived in Tampa?
one that lived in Tampa, her name isn't. They call her Doll.
Okay.
But that's it.
Well, she's the one I'm thinking was Dorothy. But no.
You knew the one because you fixed her car.
No,
right?
I sold her
Sold
my
her the
Rambler
car.
that you had borrowed when your car was in the shop.
Okay.
Okay.
I knew there was a
But what
connection.
happened was, I'm trying to figure out the older woman who was the mother of the daughter and the son-in-law had the car.
That was a sister.
Okay. That was the
That
sister
was
of the one in
sister
Tampa.
That was the sister to Dorothy in Tampa.
Right. Okay.
Young Dorothy is the niece to them.
That was in that group.
Yes, that was
Okay.
in the group.
So
in
this
my
is
house
okay.
with the-
Right.
with the-
Okay. Well, what had happened was a group of Hazel's family had come down from Georgia, stopped in Attapulgos, and picked up the older woman and her husband. I think maybe not. Maybe they'd all come from New
No,
York.
they had all come
You,
from
okay,
New York.
but you had known them. Okay, you had known them from Attapulgos. Okay,
Attapulgos is a home site.
right. We're at the. Okay, now back to. So when they walked in the door, I looked at the older woman, the mother, and I said, "I know you from somewhere." And she gave me that. Yeah, right, white boy. You think we all look alike. Look, she was not. She would. So I just sat politely, and I don't think she really liked the fact that I was here, frankly. But that's okay. That's part of life. But I engaged the son and the father. We talked about my Renault that I had, their R16, and I showed it to them, and they really enjoyed it. And finally, it was time for them to leave. And as they were leaving, the father said, "Now, what was the woman's name? The older woman that
I can't remember.
and we can't
now.
remember." Okay. Anyway, the one who'd been giving me them looks, she was not a lesbian, but we would say them ugly bulldagger looks. Okay. And so as they were leaving, he said, "Yeah, we're going up to Tampa to visit her sister."
Yeah.
And I said, "Does she live in the North Tampa housing project next to I-4? And they looked at me and said, "Well, yeah." And I said, "And she has a 4-door Rambler American, except the back door on the passenger side's a different color. It's faded out white that she's driven for years, right?" "Yeah. How did you know?" And I said, "Because I sold her that car for $300 about 3 years ago. And Hazel borrowed it when her Mustang was in the shop once." And then you kind of went, "Oh, yeah, that car. Et cetera, et cetera." So that was the connection, which is why when she walked in the door, I thought, you look familiar. I know you from somewhere. Well, of course, when the story broke, she kind of went, "Oh, God, maybe he's not so bad after all." And then we all had a big hug and everybody left and they had a good trip. But
yeah.
it's one of my favorite memories in this house.
Yeah. David was still alive then.
No.
Yes,
Well, yeah, I guess, but he
yes,
wasn't
yes,
here.
no.
But he wasn't here.
David was alive then because they did not come back to his service.
You're right.
Dorothy Young, the one that lives here now, they got as far as Tampa and something happened and they couldn't make it.
Okay.
See, the arrangements was that Lydia was getting married the Saturday of the 20th. We had David's service on the 23rd because he passed away on the 17th of December.
Well, how did you and David meet?
1986. There used to be a building, and that's what got me into historic preservation, that a company out of Miami called Bonded Rental Agency had an office. And I went to work for them in Fort Lauderdale. The young lady that was working in the office here in Pompano decided she was going to go to work for a bank. So they asked if I would come to work in Pompano for 2 weeks.
Gene?
This was
I'm
May
listening, George.
1957. And there's a part that I'm not going to tell you.
That's
but
okay.
David walks in the door one of the Monday mornings to pay rent for the family that he was living with.
Okay.
And the next Monday he came, but he didn't come to pay the rent. He wanted to know if he could take me to lunch.
Aw.
And I said, well, yes, I didn't know anybody. And the right 2 doors from where this building was, although it had 4 units in it, was a sandwich shop. And so the sandwich shop was there, and I, at my lunchtime, walked out with him. The woman that made the hamburger for me, bless her heart, is still alive.
Wow.
How old
Yeah.
is she then?
90, what did her daughter tell me yesterday? 97, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause this now. Tell Hazel the story of Ed lighting the fireplace in Dade City.
Well, this is actually appropriate because it was Aunt Gracie and Uncle Algie were visiting us, and they were basically sitting on a couch here. Dad was over there, and Mom was sitting maybe here, and we were sitting on the floor in front of the fireplace, and it's one of those Florida winter days, the severe winter days when it only gets up to 50, and it went down to 28 that night. So fire isn't working very well. So Dad's got a remedy for that. He goes outside and he gets a bag and he pours a bunch of kerosene or gasoline or something in this damn bag. George and I are sitting.
This was to start the fire.
Well, the
He
fire
laid
was
the
smoldering.
no. He laid the fire. He laid the fire, and the paper, and then the kindling, and etc. And he decided he was going to get it started fast. He went out and got the 5-gallon gasoline can, just like the scene from The Color Purple with Mister, getting the stove going. So he doused it with gasoline, and fortunately he put the can back at the other end of the room with the cap on it.
Praise the Lord.
But the fumes, of course, gasoline vapors had crept out onto the floor around us on the carpet. So he stands back and tosses in a match to get it started. And what happened, Gene?
Well, that's George's version, and it's not really important today which one is true. I'd remembered that the fire was not burning that well, and then he just threw the bag in there. And of course, when the bag melted, the stuff. But regardless, whether he threw the match in or threw the bag in, this flame came
fireball.
out, and it came out, Hazel, in a perfect semicircle. And for
halfway across the living
went
room
like this,
floor.
Whoop, back. But for a split second, George and I were engulfed in flame.
Surrounded by flame on the carpet about an inch deep. Yeah.
About this high around us. And I remember it was a perfect circle. And of course, it's like any life-threatening situation. Everything slows down. And I know in his mind, I've just destroyed the house. It's going to blow up in here. The house is going to burn down. And I turned back and I looked up at my dad and I said, "You dumb son of a bitch." And he didn't say a thing to me because I don't even think he heard me. He was like, so glad he hadn't destroyed the house.
Well, he was glad he hadn't destroyed you all because that was not his intention, you know.
No, but it was so funny. My dad, one time he got in a project to save money in the summer. He gets up in the attic, and of course I couldn't help him because usually I'd always help him. He goes down in the wall. To this day, I don't know what he was doing with the electrical down there when he should have hired an electrician.
Right.
Well, when people tape that electrical tape around exposed wires, over time it'll start coming undone.
Right.
And obviously nobody intended anybody to go down there except an expert. And it was so hot. I mean, he must have lost 8 pounds of water. Well, anyway, I'm in the kitchen, Mom's cooking, and all of a sudden from in the wall, he somehow got himself down in there. All of a sudden the wall started shaking and some of the plaster was coming off. And inside the wall I heard this blood-curdling scream of pain where he touched the electric thing.
Oh,
so
wow.
I went up the ladder, went down, and I finally convinced him. I said, "Dad, get out of there. You're going to kill yourself." And I think, of course, I've been telling him that, but after he shocked himself, he finally realized that maybe he ought to listen to me, so he came. But some of the projects that he got involved in, he's a wonder he's alive. The last one I'm going to tell you, I was playing on my little slide that he'd made for us out of my old electric train platform, and he was sawing off this limb way up high. He had this fruit ladder way up high. And he says, "Look, Jeannie." And of course he wanted me to see the limb fall off. Well, he had the ladder on the right side of the limb, but what he didn't count on, when the end went off, the limb went up like this. So the ladder, and so just as I look, my dad and the limb come falling down. My dad lands right on top of the limb and, luckily wasn't killed. And I said, "Dad, you didn't have to go to all that trouble to entertain me." I couldn't believe it. I'm glad he survived some of his projects, Hazel, because he was always worried about money. Even when I was a sergeant major, I said, "Dad, don't worry about it. I'll pay for it. Just don't worry." "Well, I can't ask you to do that." I said, "Yes, I can." And he says, "Well, I can't ask that." And I says, "Yes, because every time I come here, you're got another project going, and I'm sick of hearing about it. Let's just pay for it and get it
Can
done."
be done with it.
Thank you.
But boy, you all had an uneventful life. That's all I got to say. Very uneventful.
Well, I don't know anybody who grew up in Florida who had an eventful life. Why, it was so uneventful, we were all just dying of boredom.
Well, we had my eventful life came in the service and in judo, but it was my real, and I love old movies to this day. My escape, because I'm older than him, was the movies.